Hello everyone, this is ACH AI Akaya bringing you game number 2 between Manslayer and Hitchens. And as we could see on game number 1, Hitchens was able to absolutely overrun Manslayer. He out-expanded him vastly and had a much bigger army for pretty much the whole game and just kept Manslayer contained in his base. And Manslayer, playing as random, is actually going to spawn as the green Protoss here in the lower left. And in the upper right here, we do have Hitchens as the pink Protoss. So we are going to see a PvP for matchup number 2. In this map, of course, is Blistering Sands, which is a 2-player map. So they will not need to do a whole lot of scouting other than whenever they want to find out exactly what tech their opponent has. Scouting early on 2v2 maps, or sorry, 1v1 maps, not quite as important to do early on in the game as it is in 4-player maps. But anyways, it looks like we are going to see a probe going out early for Hitchens, and he does have his first pylon just now finishing up in his base and continuing to chrono boost these probes, which is absolutely important as a Protoss player. I think that 13 has mentioned this in some of the casts that he's done with me, but chrono boost, especially in the early game, to get your probe line up and running as quick as possible, just super important. But anyways, it looks like Manslayer is not going to be using chrono boost on his probes. He does have his first gateway going down right now, though, as the probe of Hitchens makes it into his base. So he is going to be able to scout that first gateway and will be able to respond accordingly because he does not have a gateway of his own yet. Actually, he just started it. But anyways, looking at the income tab here, both players are relatively even, although it does look like Hitchens has a 2-probe lead on the number of harvesters, so he is going to have a slight advantage. Of course, that being because he is chrono boosting his probes, while Manslayer is not. As you can see here, he does have 60 energy, which chrono boost only costs 25, so it replenishes very quickly, and it's something that you can use a lot. So you definitely should use it as much as you have it. And of course, in the early game, it's important to use it on the probe so that you can get your probe line built very quickly, but then also you can use it for building any other units, or you can also use it for researching upgrades. It basically just makes whatever building you cast it on do whatever it's doing that much faster, with the one exception being that it cannot make a building warp in faster. It can make units warp in faster, it can make researches go faster, but it can't make a building actually warp in faster. And it looks like Hitchens actually going for a pretty similar build as he did last game, with the exception he is getting his second assimilator up and running a little bit quicker. But he did go his first 2 pylons gateway into a cyber core, and it looks like he is now putting down his second gateway. And the first Zealot of Manslayer moving out across the map looks like he's going to try to put some early pressure on Hitchens and see if he can pull out a win by keeping the pressure on rather than sitting back and trying to play a little bit more defensively. As we saw last game, he had a hard time defending against the large armies of the Protoss player Hitchens, although we'll see if he fares a little bit better as Protoss himself. One big thing he did miss in that last game, though, was that he did not have enough miners on his mineral line, and it looks like Manslayer going to get in here and try to take out some probes, although that Zealot getting surrounded, he's going to lose that to the combined hits of these probes and one Zealot. So unfortunately, that first Zealot that he was hoping to cause some pressure with going down, and another Zealot is up here now, but is going to hold off and wait for some other Zealots before he moves into the base, which we can see that Manslayer is continuing to just stream Zealots across the map right now, and it looks like he is actually committing to this as almost an all-in Zealot pressure. He has not built anything else other than a few pylons. He is just now putting down a cyber core, but he has very, very few probes on his mineral line, so he is going to be very, very susceptible if his Zealot push does not do enough damage. And actually, one Stalker coming out for Hitchens right now, so he is going to be able to hold off these Zealots without any issues, it looks like, as these 2 Zealots can not only match the Zealots of Hitchens, but he does have a Stalker to back it up as well. A third Zealot coming into the mix now, although one Zealot just barely getting away with 1 hit point there, going to try to come back up into the fray, but immediately gets fired down. And the last Zealot for Manslayer is going to have to back off. He does have 2 more Zealots on the way, but once again, the army of Hitchens continues to grow. He did not manage to get any of the Zealots or Stalker down for Hitchens. So once again, we see that Manslayer is in a pretty rough spot. It looks like he has started to macro up some more probes, but looking at the income overlay here, he is still behind pretty significantly by at least a couple hundred minerals per minute. We do see him trying to get down a robotics bay, and it looks like he's also trying to take down these destructible rocks in the back entrance of Hitchens' base. But even if he manages to take these out, I don't know if he will be able to get in there and do enough damage. Hitchens does have 3 stalkers despite moving out a decent portion of his army, although it looks like he's moving out these stalkers along with the rest of his army. So if Hitchens does not see him breaking down these destructible rocks and he's able to break them down soon enough, he might get in there and get some kills. But it looks like he is going to come up and run right by these units. Did he see it? No, he just barely missed scouting that. So unfortunately, he will not be aware that these rocks are going down. And the units moving out across the map here, 1 stalker still inside his base and another stalker and sentry moving out, and it looks like Hitchens is going for an expansion. 2 more zealots moving out, but they are going to absolutely get roasted by these stalkers, and 2 zealots moving out across the map. And Manslayer once again in a very, very bad position here. So he is trying to get out in Immortal, it looks like, but I don't think he's going to be able to get it out in time, and I think it's just going to be a little bit too little before these stalkers and zealots overrun his base. But meanwhile, he does have the zealots going into Manslayer's base, and he is not killing the units that he needs to kill. He really needs to be going for the mineral line right now, but he is trying to take out pylons instead, and only gets 1 pylon down, which doesn't even take any of these warp gates offline. So Hitchens will be able to warp in some units here and defend against this relatively easily, I think. But it looks like Manslayer is going to be losing most of his base. He is currently supply blocked. His first Immortal did make it out, and he's trying to do some damage with it, but not really able to get anything significant as Hitchens just continues to walk through his base, taking out all of his pylons. So all of these buildings right here are dead now and not able to produce anything. Although it does look like his zealots are still in the mineral line. More stalkers have warped in here, so he's going to be able to hold this off relatively easily, it looks like, being able to micro these stalkers properly. And 1 stalker almost going down, actually 2 stalkers almost going down, and it looks like they are going to be able to get both of these, but more stalkers warping in right now. So it looks like this second game is going to go to Hitchens as well, so he is going to 2-0 this and move on to the round of 16. I'm not sure why Manslayer has not GG'd yet, as he does not have anything that he can do anymore, and he definitely does not have enough zealots to actually do anything in the base of Hitchens right now. So he is basically fighting an uphill battle that he cannot win. He is going to GG. So Hitchens moving on to the round of 16.